So my response to watching the 3 videos and how those videos illustrated narrative and power. The first one I'll talk about is Baratunde, his presentation, and how like showing the titles of like white woman, blah blah blah, like making like white people uncomfortable from like black people, like making white people like the victim, when really if you just change the title, it gives you a whole new meaning or perception of like what that story or what that title is trying to say. And I think there's a reason why, like in history, like they've done that, and it makes me open my eyes a lot. And whenever you said like we rewrite the titles, we rewrite actions, and then we change the system, it kind of goes together with what like narrative and like the power behind that, you know. So, and then the next story, Jimmy Mandana, I believe. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. But like where she came from, and like talking about like her culture and how like their stories would be different than if a European were to like talk about where she's from, like the stories of her country, like maybe portray more of like the bad things and not so much the good. But she, you know, that's her identity, that's who she is, and that narrative and that's power, you know, like where she came from and like who she is and like how she presented herself and like where she's from. So that, yeah, that kind of made me think about, you know, stereotypes, and it made me think a lot about a single story could be dangerous, like a title, because it's true. You know, we think we know like someone or something or a story. Like we like to piece things together in our own mind sometimes, our own perception, and without really knowing, we kind of already have this thought of, or this idea of someone and their culture or like where they're from. Yeah, so from like an outsider perspective who's not from her country, they may think something different, maybe more negative. And then from someone who is from her country where she grew up, it's more beautiful side and more of the good rather than the bad, even though she recognizes that there are bad things, but she still sees the beauty of her country, or like how she grew up and like what makes her who she is from those things. And then Gretchen helped me understand that the coherence and fidelity and how master plots and stories, whatever, it makes us, kind of goes back to what I was saying about Baratunde, it makes us go and already piece together what we think is going to happen. And that's why at the end they were saying, be your own being your own narrative is power, I believe that's what it was. And yeah, and then they were also talking about how like in like media, there's this like sort of epidemic of, I hope I said that word right, epidemic of like falsely accusating like wrong ideas of certain stories and people, and it just being like one story is dangerous, you know. And so rather doing that, having our own narrative, and that equaling to power. And yeah, that's hers was pretty good. I got that far into it, and I really liked it a lot. It really made me think, honestly, about everything, a lot of things. Definitely about my own narrative and my own, how I want to showcase that, and how I want to remember myself, like as certain things or whatever, and how that's power for me as an individual.